The Army's most advanced tank shut down mid-demo. 3 top engineers tried to fix it. All failed. Then, someone whispered a name long forgotten. That day, beneath the hum of failing circuits and silent judgment, he didn't just fix an engine. He reclaimed a piece of his legacy. Let's go back. Charles Rener. Chuck, to those who knew him, was a man shaped by hardship and refined by instinct. He never saw the inside of a university. Orphaned young, raised in the cracks of the foster care system, he found his refuge in broken things, pulling apart appliances, radios, engines, then putting them back together just to see if he could. By 12, he'd single-handedly fixed the failing hydraulics in the orphanage's laundry room. By 17, he'd enlisted in the Army, not for glory, just to escape the weight of a life he never chose. Chuck never talked much, but when a truck stalled out in the middle of nowhere, or a generator died during a freezing night, he was the first. They called. Others read manuals. Chuck, he listened to machines like a medic feels for a pulse. He understood failure not as an error but as a language, and he was fluent in it. He became known not loudly but quietly as the man who always made things run again. Then 1982, an explosion during a classified engine test. It left Chuck with shrapnel in his right leg, a permanent limp, and a black mark on his record blamed for the malfunction. Quietly pushed out. His military pension barely covered the basics. His wife left 2 years later. No children, just the silence of a life that kept breaking around him. Today, at 68, Chuck lives in a converted shed behind a shut-down repair shop in Tucson, Arizona. He fixes farm tractors and heavy machinery for cash. His pickup is old, his hands older. Locals know him by the limp, the faded jeans, the silence, and the toolbox riding shotgun. That Monday morning, while repairing a hydraulic line on a John Deere 5E, his phone rang. A number he didn't recognize. Mr. Rener, this is General Kurtz, Fort Huachuca. We need your help urgently. Chuck almost hung up, but there was something in that voice. A kind of pressure that only shows up when time's run out. 1 hour later, he was headed toward the base. It had been 26 years. The desert rolled by his windows like an old memory. At the gate, a young soldier looked him over his toolbox, worn boots, an oil-stained shirt, named Charles Rener. I was called in. The soldier checked his list. There's no record, Chuck calmly replied. Mind checking with the general? Minutes later, a sergeant appeared. Mr. Rener, come with me. They walked in silence through the base. Younger soldiers glanced at him, some curious, others dismissive. In Hangar 7, beneath floodlights, sat a tank covered in tarps. Chuck recognized it instantly, one of the new generation hybrid tanks. Machines he once helped dream up, now advanced, far beyond him. 3 engineers hovered over the engine. One looked up. Is this the specialist? Not hostile, just doubtful. I'm Dr. Carson. We expected someone younger. Chuck ignored the jab. His eyes were already on the engine. This is a stealth hybrid engine, Carson explained. It keeps failing after 15 minutes of operation. We've ruled out every major system. Chuck nodded. Mind if I take a look? They didn't stop him, but they didn't hide their smirks either. He opened his rusted toolbox, pulled out a flashlight and a mechanical stethoscope, outdated to most, indispensable to him. He worked in silence. 15 minutes passed, then 20. Finally, Chuck stood still. The engine isn't the problem, he said quietly, confused. Glances. What do you mean? Carson asked. Chuck pointed. The mounting base develops micro vibrations once the engine heats up. That vibration causes harmonic dissonance between the combustion engine and electric drive. That's what's killing your power. The engineers looked at each other. Carson's voice tightened. We tested the mounting base. Cold or hot? Chuck asked. Silence. Did you check the vibration dampers after full heat exposure? We checked to factory spec. Factory specs are for conventional engines, Chuck replied. This isn't one. Carson folded his arms. That sounds like a guess. We need hard data. Chuck quietly closed his toolbox. Then you don't need me. He walked out without waiting, limping but proud, just like always. Hours later, while washing dishes, his phone rang again. Mr. Renner, this is Dr. Carson. You were right. We tested post-heat. The dampers are failing, exactly as you said. Chuck said nothing, Carson added. The General wants to meet you. When Chuck returned to Hangar 7 the next morning, everything had changed. General Kurtz was waiting. Mr. Rener, he said, extending a hand. Or should I? Sergeant Rener, I owe you an apology. That engine, it's built on principles. You helped pioneer those faulty dampers. Originally designed with your specifications? Chuck stood silent. Why? The General asked. Is a man who helped architect this technology working out of a shed in Arizona. Chuck took a breath. Back in '82, I was blamed for the explosion. My leg was damaged. After that, I was seen as a liability. The General nodded. I understand. Dr. Carson stepped forward. Mr. Renner, I sincerely apologize. Chuck gave a small nod. It's all right. The General said, we have more systems that need people like you. Will you consider returning? Chuck looked at the machine one last time. Double quotes, General, ... That chapter's closed. I'm not that man anymore. Then let me offer this, the General said, handing him an envelope. For your service now and then? Chuck didn't open it. I didn't do it for that. I know, Kurtz replied. That's why you deserve it. The next morning, as Chuck tightened a cylinder on the same John Deere, a black SUV pulled up. Dr. Carson stepped out. Sun in his face, dust on his boots. I had to say this in person, he said. When you identified that vibration, I felt small. I've worked with PhDs, geniuses, but none of them heard what you did. You reminded me that true mastery isn't always framed or certified. It's earned, lived. Chuck just nodded. Machines always warn you when they're about to fail, he said, wiping his hands. But not everyone knows how to listen. Carson shook his hand, the grip firmer now with respect, as the SUV vanished down the dirt road. Chuck stood in the stillness between two lives, one of pain and one of purpose, because real worth isn't measured in medals or money. It waits. Someone's wise enough to see it. If this story moved you, hit the like button and subscribe. More stories like this, stories that matter, are just one click away.